Hello everybody, it's Chibi, and today I'm going to be bringing you another anime review of the Taizai greatness. So, before I dive into the review, I just want to clarify this and let you all know if you're wondering, okay, is subs already out? Yes, there is actual translation and subs already out for this recent episode of Taizai. So I'm letting you all know right now, I did not watch the raw version of Taizai, there is an actual sub version already out. So anyways, moving on to this week's episode of Taizai. Bond, man. Bond. Oh my god, fucking Bond. Dude, Bond, man. Oh my god. If you haven't realized yet from my last review, I'm a straight up Bond fanboy. So, like I said, I want to, put down that Bond fanboy type mode. I want to save it for the end of this review. I want to save the fanboy of Bond to the end. So, let's talk about the details of this episode and what this adaptation of the 7 Deadly Sins did. So right off the bat, I just want to say the adaptation of the 7 Deadly Sins, once again, pretty fucking great. Oh my god, it is good. It's literally following it panel by panel, dialogue by dialogue, everything's being added, and it's making me fucking happy. As an anime watcher that's read the manga, I am so happy that Taizai is getting the adaptation it freaking deserves. It deserved this wonderful and beautiful anime adaptation. It did. And to see how it's being adapted properly without being rushed, without seeing things omitted and stuff like that, I am unbelievably happy and hyped up right now, because this is the greatness of Taizai begins here. When Bond gets introduced from like last week's episode, that's when the greatness begins of Taizai. I'm just saying right now, it's only really an uphill from this point onward from the series. So, anyways, this episode, we find out a lot of details, a lot of hints, and a lot of foreshadowing, most likely for future plot points. One thing in particular I want to talk about, actually two things, two major things from this episode I want to talk about. One thing, the flashback with Bond. That flashback we had right at the beginning of this episode, that shows us why Meliodas is the leader of the 7 Deadly Sins. Now, Bond, as I said, you all know by now, he's best boy, okay? He's the fucking best boy, but for best boy to follow someone, that must mean he has to have someone that's probably very fucking strong as his leader. And so, Bond tries to take Meliodas' sword away from him in the flashback. And Meliodas says, Bond, let go. You're making me angry. And this is the thing, okay? As we know, Meliodas is the sin of wrath. So, of course, he should have a lot of anger. From what we've seen from his character thus far in the anime, we have not seen Meliodas get fucking angry at all, until specifically this episode when you had Golgius that tried to steal the sword from Meliodas. So that was the only time we saw Meliodas get angry in present-day time. But in the past, we see how Bond gets struck. He gets struck by Meliodas, and you see the big scar on his neck, like, from Meliodas just slicing him really quick, and he gets, like, thrown way far back. So, it shows you the strength of Meliodas compared to Bond. But it's not just that. As was revealed in the last week's episode, right at the end, Bond pointed at the scar of his neck. The only person to ever leave a scar on him was this specific person. He didn't say the name, but at the beginning of this episode, it's pretty much obvious who left the scar now. It was Meliodas. Meliodas left that scar on Bond's neck. Now, how strong must Meliodas be to leave a scar on a man's freaking body that supposedly can heal from someone stabbing him through the freaking arms? Think about that. So, yeah, it just shows you the level of power that maybe Meliodas is at. That's one thing I will say that's a crazy part of this episode. Another bit you can get from this episode is Meliodas' rage. Like, you could tell he has some form of rage or a dark past. Because in this episode, we see a flashback to this girl that Meliodas seemed to know. And you saw Meliodas hug this person's head. Looked like the person was either wounded or dying or something like that. And it clearly looks like Meliodas cared for this person. That's what the flashback shows us. So we have to wonder and question, who is this person? What type of connection does this person have with Meliodas? And that is the big ball game we have to wonder from right now. So, let's get on to the other details of this episode. There was some awesome freaking fights in this episode. Like, oh my god. The Diane and Meliodas fight, oh my god, yes, oh, that's badass. Oh, my god, man. It's so wonderful. Seeing some of these scenes I've wanted to see for such a long time being animated. Seeing these scenes animated, like this fight with Diane and fucking Meliodas. Oh my god. That's just fucking, oh my god. Okay, so, besides that, I want to try to lower the fanboy. I gotta lower the fucking fanboy. I gotta shove it down. I gotta shove that fanboy down, because I just love Taizai so much. But, pretty much, okay? We see the fight between Diane and Meliodas. They're squaring off with each other, and clearly they're either hallucinating or there's something going on with some form of magic with illusions, because you see this dude that's given hallucination or illusions called Ruin to Diane and Meliodas. And the thing is, we see like a small version of like Ruin in Meliodas. Like when Diane's looking at Meliodas, she sees like a small version of Ruin. And when you have Meliodas looking at Diane, you see a large version of Ruin. So right there, it shows us that there is some form of hallucination or illusion type powers going on right now. And right now, Diane and Meliodas are being like pretty much manipulated. Like their brains are being messed with or something, because Diane was kind of like weirded out right when we saw her in this episode. Like, she didn't even realize where she was. So, we have to wonder exactly how are they going to be getting out of this power and what is really going to happen from this point forward. So, that's one thing. We get to see the demonstration of the weird Fang's powers. We get to see, you know, this dude demonstrate that he can control some form of hallucinations or illusions. We find out about the dude called Gulgus that can use, like, invisibility or transparency. He can, like, make himself slightly invisible, and he can walk around. And so, he doesn't really have the power of teleportation. He has the power of, like, invisibility. So that's a really cool reveal we had right there. Let's get into the Bond fanboy segment of this review, okay? I got to. I'm sorry. So, the episode ends off on the best parts, okay? It ends off with, like, oh my god, the biggest tease. Like, it is such a tease when I see scenes like this, animated. Bond, as we know in last week's episode, was confronting Jericho, and he was about to fight her, and then you had it to where Jericho's like, yeah, I'm gonna kill you and all that, and making fun of Bond and stuff. Well, in this episode, we find out that Jericho's clothes have been stripped. She's been completely stripped. She has no clothes on unless just her bra and freaking pantsuit. That's all that's left on Jericho. And the funny thing is that Bond runs off and he's trying to wear the freaking armor of Jericho. So he's like, oh, it's too small. I liked it. And he just fucking drops it. He doesn't even give a shit, dude. He doesn't even fucking give a shit. He doesn't give a shit that he just stole a girl's fucking armor. He's like, I liked it. And he just fucking drops it. He strips his girl Jericho of her armor. It just walks off, tries to wear the fucking armor. He doesn't even leave it back for her after he tries to try it. He just walks off and then tries to put it on, and then, yeah. Oh my god, Bond, why are you so badass, man? Why are you so badass? Why are you so badass? Oh my god. So, with that, past the entire Jericho bit, we see one of the weird Fangs say that he was the one that tortured and captured Bond in the past. So, Bond is meeting, like, his old rival or something in the past that captured him, and Bond didn't even seem like he gave a shit. Like, he didn't even give a shit, okay? He was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna be leaving now, and he just tries to walk off past a dude, and all of a sudden he gets fucking stabbed and all that, and you're like, oh my god, Bond! And then you see the blood coming out, which I'm kind of shocked. I expected a lot more censorship, but there hasn't been that bad of censorship, so good one, A1 Pictures. I actually expected a lot of censorship when it comes to Bond, so to see how you're not doing that, okay. So, you see Bond get stabbed at the end of this episode, and then all of a sudden he, like, smiles and all that, and the episode ends, and I'm like, why you do that to me? Why? Why'd you do that to me, man? Why? That dude, no, I love this, and you gotta end on a Bond moment. You don't end on a Bond moment. One does not simply end on a Bond moment when it is badass and epic. Ugh. Okay. This week's episode of Taizai, I want to end it here. Just a wonderful episode of Taizai. And like I said, this is where Taizai gets better. It's all uphill from here. Seriously. It gets much better from this point onward because of Bond. Not just because I'm a fanboy, but because the story picks up. It actually picks up from this point onward. So yeah. So you all have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe and prepare for next week for more Taizai greatness. Chibi out.